It's another wasted performance. Kawhi Leonard goes out there and he scores 40 points. Russell Westbrook had 24 points against the New Orleans Pelicans. And, really, not only Kawhi, really nobody really could stop Brandon Ingram. He just got into a rhythm. He got into a flow. He was just hitting shots. And, when players get into those zones, really they just can't be stopped. But that was a great game to him. Shout out to him for playing that great game, playing inspired basketball, knowing that the Pelicans need it. But that's definitely not good for the Clippers. I definitely think that that 40 points by Kawhi Leonard was huge. Kawhi just kind of like turned it on in the beginning of the game. He kind of, started out slow because Russell Westbrook they'll run the offense a lot through Russ. Then all of a sudden, second half, Kawhi turned it on. Usually in the third quarter is when Kawhi really starts to go crazy and, start spazzing or whatever on the court. But, either way, like I said, he played very good as well, of course. He played like the superstar that he is. And he tried to put the team on his back, but they just didn't, reach that plateau. They just fell. And, the Clippers, in order for them to really, win going forward, they're going to really have to rely on their defense more than their offense, because even though they could put up a lot of points because they got a lot of depth and a lot of pieces, but you have games where certain pieces don't come through the way they're supposed to, and it's not nothing against that guy. It's just that he had an off night, and when players have off nights, certain players have off nights, it can really off kilter it can really turn off your offense in a lot of ways. So you got to rely more on your defense because you have a lot of wing players and guys with a lot of length and guys with a lot of know-how on the defensive end of the floor. You have to utilize that as your tool. And I think that's what the Clippers, they at moments, at times they do, but then at times they don't, because they cherish their offense so much. But if you look at the game against the Pelicans, Nicholas Batum played 24 minutes, only had 2 points. Now, that's somebody who played a lot of minutes and who didn't have no production. And between him and Robert Covington, they had like 6 or 8 points combined, I believe. So, it's like that's a lot of time on the floor without production from those players that are expected to, come through. And like I said, it's okay because people have off games. It's okay. Kawhi has off games. PG, every player in the league has off games. It doesn't matter. My point is, this is why I think the Clippers need to more or less focus on the defensive end, because that's going to help them, generate their offense better, and it's going to help them, of course, neutralize the other team from getting more points, where it allows the Clippers to, run more of their offense and implement their will against other teams. Because honestly, even though the Clippers are a good 3-point shooting team, I just feel like they lose sight of who they really are. They really are a good defensive team when they choose to be, when they really choose to lock down, play defense, get up in you, play tight, and, always, keep Kawhi Leonard lurking in between if a team's trying to run a zone or not. No matter what the opposing team does, the Clippers have a lot of lengthy guys who can disrupt a lot of things, and swing the momentum to their favor. And the Clippers just have to realize that. And that's just something that they don't, it's like they know it, but they don't realize it enough and utilize it enough consistently. Because you see at times when they really want to play defense, they'll lock down against any team, anybody, and give them problems. But then there's times where they just rely on shooting threes so much and just scoring. It takes away from their defensive mentality. So it's like, really, the Clippers are going to have to just figure out a way to really balance that. And of course, PG is not there. there, that's a big piece that's missing, because a lot of those, a game like that, these last couple games that the Clippers lost against the Pelicans and, the Grizzlies, Paul George would have had about 25, 30 points in one or two, or if not both of those games, whereas the Clippers might have definitely came out and won those games. But of course, Paul George not being there puts more load on Kawhi. So it's like, you got to kind of monitor him too, because, you don't want nothing to happen to him, because, you definitely don't have a chance if something happens to him. So it's like the Clippers are really in a peculiar situation right now. But I mean, they're good enough to get themselves out of it. They got a lot of depth. Norman Powell is back. Once he gets into more of a rhythm, I think, their offense will definitely flow a little bit better, especially, coming off the bench. Then on top of that, you got to hope that, just like I said, you got to hope that Russ just plays more in control. The more, he gets reps on the floor, just play more in control, because, the more turnovers you get, the way teams are playing right now, every game is like do or die. Every game has a playoff atmosphere to it. So turnovers really hurt this time of season more than any other part of the season. So, I mean, Russ got to remember that, and he's got to keep that in his head if this team wants to win and this team wants to keep him on the floor as their starting point guard. And, everybody else is just going to have to step up. I expect more from Terrence Mann on the defensive end. I mean, everybody, even Kawhi Leonard, I expect more from him on the defensive end. Even though Kawhi is great, he plays great, and I know sometimes, Kawhi, he scores so much more points now than what he used to back in the day. So his defense suffers at times because he's more of a scorer now rather than just a defender as he once was. But he still can defend at a high level. And in the playoffs, he definitely turns it up a notch on the defensive end too. So that's what I'm really more concerned about, or not concerned about. That's what I really want to see, what he's going to do in the playoffs in this season. Of course, the anticipation. But either way, like I said, the Clippers just got to be more sound on defense. They really can't worry about anything else, because that if they, like I said, they can allow their offense to dictate games. But if you notice, when they do that, when they're shooting a lot of threes and when they're making them, it's good. Everything's going good. But when they're shooting a lot of threes and they're not making them, it's like they have to learn to either, they have to learn to buckle down on defense, but they also got to learn to be aggressive on the offensive end too, because sometimes they get too stagnant with shooting threes and they get too comfortable. And then when they get a little bit of a lead, sometimes the other team would just come back on them in like no time. And now Kawhi Leonard has to, come back into the game a little bit early, because it looks like the team is getting a little overwhelmed, and, he doesn't have time to, sit down and rest maybe as long as they would like him to. But either way, this is where they're at. This is what they got to deal with, and they're going to have to be prepared for it. And, it's going to start their next game. Of course, the next game is against the Lakers. That's going to be a tough one, as I said, just because of the seeding situation and just every game being dire need at this point for every team that's in that, 7 to 10 range. I'd say 6 to 10 range, really. So it's going to be crucial. But, the Clippers, I think they can figure it out. I really believe they can. It's a dogfight. It's a dogfight these last couple games of the season. It's a dogfight every game. So hopefully no load management issues or anything like that. I'm going to need Kawhi to play every game, every minute if he can, or however much he can, whatever they say he can play. But, it's do or die for the Clippers, really, because like I said, they don't want to fall into that play-in tournament. They just don't, because like I said, anything can happen. As I said in my other, videos before, the Clippers should have won the first play-in tournament game last year, and then Paul George ends up with COVID the second game, and they get knocked out by the Pelicans. You see what I'm saying? So you don't want to put yourself in that predicament. So really, the Clippers just need to kind of base themselves on trying to win out, and kind of push for that, because definitely falling in that play-in tournament is a trap, and I don't think that's a situation they want to be in, especially not knowing whether Paul George is going to be back around that time, and you don't want to wear Kawhi Leonard down too much if you're trying to make a run for a championship.